Do you mind if I talk for a second? You've been talking about your problems and it's kinda depressing. I've been minding my own sorrow, pedaling through the metal, bobbing, weaving the treble. Niggas ain't on my level, but what's that? Insecure niggas placed on the pedestal. Crumble on sight, apply the pressure, it's pitiful. I've been in my mind all night counting minerals. Pride rockets and not what and if, it's when and who. Strategy.
What's going on, everybody? Psych Perspectives, giofvcks here. We are back with Chapter 5, The Lived Experiences of the Black Man in Black Skin, White Mask by Frantz Fanon. Information, links, and articles on what is being discussed will be in the description box below. Definitely feel free to check out those references, and definitely feel free to share your references and your data and information, as well as your perspectives and your thoughts on the readings, on the video discussions, and what is being discussed in the video, right? So we're going to follow back on Chapter 5, page 92. As you can see, I got some stuff highlighted, crossed out. Let's read it, okay? Page 92, right in the middle. I was responsible not only for my body, but also for my race and my ancestors. I cast an objective gaze over myself, discovered my blackness, my ethnic features, deafening by cannibalism, backwardnesses, fetishism, racial stigmas, slave traders, and above all, yes, above all, the grinning Bonania. Information on what that means will be in the description box below. And of course, you know, we got notes. Alright, again, black, marginalized identities in general, always have to be seen as monolithic. We have to speak for an entire race or a group. And I always thought this, again, when you're a part of a marginalized identity group, it's always seen as we're all the same instead of us being individuals. And there's this assumption that a black person is going to speak on the behalf of all black people. A gay person is going to speak on the behalf of all gay people. Yet oppressors, they get to have the privilege of being both a part of a group, a larger society, as well as being individuals. And I'm going to use this as an example. Case in point, when a white man goes off and decides that he's going to shoot and kill a bunch of innocent people, it's seen as an individual incident, an isolated incident. He's a lone wolf. That's not how all white men are. It's not all white people. Yet, time and time again, when a black person, an individual black person does something that's stupid, ignorant, crazy, dangerous, whatever, it ends up becoming, that's how black people are. One black person wears sags, then all black men sag. One black woman has an attitude, all black women have an attitude. You see the problem here. One gay person does something, all gay people do that. One trans person does something, all trans people do that. We don't get to have the privilege of being individuals. We don't get to have the privilege of being the lone wolf. Yet the oppressors, the privileged group, they're able to pick and choose when they want to be a part of a society, a part of a group, or when they decide that they want to be individuals and do their own thing. Again, I just always thought, we're not monolithic, right? We're not all the same. We don't all believe the same things. We're not the same. We are individuals. Are there some similarities? Yes. But are we all going to be doing the same thing? No. And you would think that would be common sense. But again, that doesn't seem to be the common sense, right? We never get the privilege of being individuals, whereas white privileged identities get to be privileged as individuals, okay? Again, white males who commit mass shootings being seen as isolated incidents, when clearly this is a pattern of behavior, because every time you turn around, it seems to be the individual white male who is upset, angry, pissed off, had a bad day, and decides that, I'm just going to go and murder a bunch of people in Atlanta who happen to work at salons and massage parlors. Or, you know what, I don't like black people, so today I'm going into a church and I'm going to kill all these individuals at the church. Or, I just had a really, really bad day, so I'm going to shoot a bunch of individuals who go to a concert in Vegas. And you think I'm just coming up with this at the top of my head? No, these are individual white men who have committed domestic terrorism and acts of violence and mass shootings. And this is happening on a continued, situation. Every day, every week, every month, we can pretty much expect there to be mass shootings, gun violence. These are patterns of behaviors at this point. That's all I'm saying, okay? Again, it's patterns of behaviors from the same group, white, cisgendered men. I'm just putting it out there. All right. Information on what abominancia and what it means will be in the description box below. I'm probably going to have it, on the video, too, when I'm talking about it. All right. Then we get to page 93. Okay. In West Africa, the black man is a beast of burden. And just beside me, there is the student colleague of mine from Algeria who tells me, as long as the Arab is treated like a man, like one of us, there will be no viable answer. Quote, you see, my dear fellow, color prejudice is totally foreign to me. Quote, but do come in, oh chap. You won't find any color prejudice here. Quote, quite so, the black is just as much as a man as we are. Quote, it's not because he's black that he's less intelligent than we are. Quote, I had a Senegalese colleague in the regiment, very smart guy. And I'm going to bring this up. We see the division among humans by race and ethnicity hierarchies created to uphold white supremacy, white superiority. Here it is, you have this inner conflict between racial and ethnic groups that are, seen as being beneath white. So you'll have the Senegalese, the Algerian, the black, having beef and disgruntlement with Hispanics and Latinos, Asians and Native Americans, indigenous people, in this case, Arabs. And again, everyone's fighting and divided and conquered. In the meantime, the overarching nemesis of white supremacy is controlling the show with these racial hierarchies that are social constructions. They're not real unless we give them the realness. We create the social constructs in our society. And then the people really believe that they're better because they have lighter complected skin or they're closer to whiteness. In the meantime, Arabs are being discriminated against left and right just as much as black people are. But we're going to fight amongst each other instead of coming together to fight against white supremacy. Again, there's power in numbers. There's more people of color and black people on the planet than there are white folks. Just being real, this is factual data. And again, we're all sitting up here fighting against each other, hating each other, discriminating against each other. And for what? For a make-believe social construct. Alright, so we see the division among humans by race and ethnicity hierarchies created to uphold white supremacy. Again, the negative stereotypes and racist assumptions about black people, anything negative, anything bad, is automatically assumed to be associated with blackness, with the black person, with the Negro, okay? Again, this book is almost 70 years old, 69 years ago, okay? Almost 7 decades ago, nearly a century ago, okay? And again, you see changes here and there, but you see a lot of the same things remain the same nearly 7 decades later. We still see these hierarchies, these racial hierarchies, and people literally being divided and conquered. We're going against our own well-beings to uphold an oppressive ideology and belief. And it's not just in France, it's not just in Europe, it's not just in the USA, the United States of America. It is a global oppressive phenomenon and ideology and belief and concept, way of life, unfortunately. Again, when you look at what's going on in India right now, with getting access to COVID-19 vaccines, oxygen to help people who are being intubated because of COVID, the patents, the lack of resources and care for other people, for other human beings. And here it is. Okay, the USA, let's be honest, we're sitting up here, and the USA government is literally the reason why we have all of these patents and injustices and unfairness going on. And it's a global economy, global world, and COVID-19 is a global pandemic. So the closer we get to making sure that everybody, regardless of what country and regardless of their background, we need to make sure everybody has access to the COVID-19 vaccines, healthcare, food, shelter. It's about humanity. But again, living in this oppressive ideology and concept and belief, white supremacy uses capitalism, one of its many tools of oppression, to further disenfranchise and kill off and abuse people, hoarding resources and opportunities so people can thrive and be prosperous. This is sickening. These are crimes against humanity. Okay. Alright, and then I'm going to continue on, because page 93, there's another section here. My body was returned to me spread eagle, disjointed, redone, draped in mourning on this white winter's day. The Negro is an animal. The Negro is bad. The Negro is wicked. The Negro is ugly. Look, a Negro. The Negro is trembling. The Negro is trembling because he's cold. The small boy is trembling because he's afraid of the Negro. And the Negro trembling with cold, the cold that chills the bones. The lovely little boy is trembling because he thinks the Negro is trembling with rage. The little white boy runs to his mother's arms. Maman, the Negro's going to eat me. Again, the negative stereotypes and connotations that are associated with being black, with being brown, with being a person of color, with being a marginalized identity, period. This trump that we're, especially when we look at it from the historical context of blackness and black men, black masculinity, you're dangerous, you're violent, you're aggressive, you're barbaric, you're a savage, you're superhuman. All of these negative stereotypes to justify the oppression, the abuse, the police brutality, the excessive force, the violence that is used against black men, black boys, black masculine people, black people.
Say, boy, you went too crazy.
It's just something to think about. Then we get to 94. As you can see, I marked it up like a subway in Harlem again. We're going to get to the bottom paragraph of page 94, chapter 5. The white world, the only decent one, was preventing me from participating. It demanded that a man behave like a man. It demanded of me that I behave like a black man. It demanded of me that I behave like a black man, or at least like a Negro. I held the world, and the world amputated my enthusiasm. I was expected to stay in line and make myself scarce. I'll show them. They can't say I didn't warn them. Slavery? No longer a subject of discussion, just a bad memory. My so-called inferiority? A hoax, that it would be better to be laughed about. I was prepared to forget everything, provided that the world would integrate me. This is deep. Again, we are to act a certain way to fit the script, the racial the schema, the body schema, the stereotype of the marginalized identity given to us by our oppressors. Then depending on your marginalized identity, that changes, right? So like, what does it mean to be black? What does it mean to be brown? What does it mean to be Asian? What does it mean to be Hispanic, Latino? What does it mean to be Mexican? What does it mean to be poor, working class, working poor, middle class? What does it mean? What does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be a man? What's femininity? What's masculinity? What does it mean to be non-binary? What does it mean to be cisgendered? What does it mean to be trans? Okay, what does it mean to be gay? What does it mean to be lesbian? What does it mean to be heterosexual, straight? What does any of this mean, right? Because we're all being told by somebody else that isn't us how to act and how to be. Again, what control? We don't have any autonomy over our own bodies, you know, and this is just like a common, you know, belief. It's just oppressive. It's all get out. You know? What is that? Yeah. And then we get to page 97. Color prejudice, right? And this is the, again, thinking that your color or your race is better than another person. So like, there will be people, there are black folks, let's get this straight, there are black people who are very much prejudiced and have color prejudice, okay? There will be people who will sit up and be like, I'm better than you because I'm black, and I can look down on you because you're Hispanic, Latino, or you're Mexican. Or there's people who literally will be, I'm Asian, so I'm better than you. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings, so race is a social construct. Okay, because at the end of the day, there is only one human race at this current time that we know of, and all of this trying to differentiate and basically say that you're better or superior because of your skin complexion, your skin color, your ethnicity, your nationality, your ethnic background. Come on, right? I'm better than you because I happen to have a different culture or a different skin color than you. Like, listen to the ignorance. I mean, it's just straight up ignorance across the board. So let's read about that. Color prejudice on page 97. If color prejudice is nothing more than the unreasoning hatred of one race for another, the contempt, color prejudice, racism, tit for tat, literally the same thing, the contempt of the stronger and richer peoples for those whom they considered inferior to themselves, and the bitter resentment of those who are kept in subjection, are so frequently insulted. As color is the most obvious outward manifestation of race, it has been made the criterion by which men are judged, irrespective of their social or educational attainments. The light-skinned races have come to despise all those of a darker color, and the dark-skinned peoples will no longer accept without protest the inferior position to which they have relegated. The definition of color prejudice is crafted, aka racism. Lighter skin complexions placed on a pedestal over darker skin complexions. Then you have colorism that comes out of this within inner groups, right? So you'll have the color prejudice or racism, thinking that you're inferior or superior over others. And then in that own inner group, you will have people who are in the same racial group. Say you're all black, but I'm light skinned, so I'm better than you. There are the beliefs, colorism, that is in this, okay? Colorism impacts all people of color. You'll see it in Asian communities, Native American, Indian communities, indigenous communities, Hispanic, Latino communities. It impacts us all, okay? Thus creating inferior and superior complexes, division, divide, and conquer through skin color. And then we get to page 98. As you can see where I highlighted.
Say, boy, you went too crazy.
Okay. I personally would say that for a man armed solely with reason, there is nothing more neurotic than contact with the irrational. So, in this one, racism, colorism, color prejudice is not logical or rational. I mean, really, you think you're better or less than based on your skin color, on your race? Think about it. Again, let me know what you think in the comment box below. And then we get to page 99. Okay. I'm gonna read that section right up here. But by reducing everything to the notion of human dignity, it has gutted prejudice. Scientists reluctantly admitted that the Negro was a human being, in vivo and in vitro. The Negro was identical to the white man. Same morphology, same histology. Reason was assured of victory on every level. I reintegrated the brotherhood of man, but I was soon disillusioned. Victory was playing cat and mouse. It was thumbing its nose at me. As the saying goes, now you see me, now you don't. Everyone was in agreement with the notion the Negro is a human being, i.e. his heart on his left side added those who were not too convinced, but on certain questions the white man remained uncompromising. Under no condition did he want any intimacy between the races. For we know, quote, crossings between widely different races can lower the physical and mental level. Until we have more definite knowledge of the effect of race crossings, we shall certainly do best to avoid crossings between widely different races. Now, mind you, this book is what? Nearly 7 decades old, nearly 70 years ago. And at that time, we had a lot of miscegenation laws just right here in the USA that pretty much made it illegal for people to marry or date or have children outside of their race. You weren't supposed to do these things. I'll have information on the loving Supreme Court ruling that made it illegal to tell someone they couldn't marry someone of a different race. Alright, so information on that, loving. I'll have that in the description box below. But yeah, you just think about that. You know, it was illegal to marry somebody out of a different race, ethnicity than you in many states in the USA. Okay? And again, nearly 70 years ago. Okay?
Say, boy, you went too
So again,
crazy.
always trying to prove we are the same as white folks, as white people, as Europeans, as an oppressor, right? So a lot of times, those of us that are seen as inferior, marginalized, we're constantly trying to prove our humanity to our oppressors, right? So, for example, on a personal level, as a black, intersex, trans man, I'm constantly sitting up here like, trans people are just as worthy of dignity in life as cisgendered people. And the fact that we waste all of our time trying to prove that, it's not my job to prove my humanity to you. You need to try to figure out why you're being transphobic and a bigot, and why you're hating human beings for being who they are. How about that, right? Same thing with trying to prove your humanity to racist people. It's not your job to prove that you deserve to live to a racist police officer, to a racist white person, or to a racist person, period. They need to figure out why they're hating you and discriminating against you. They're the one with the problem, not you. And again, notice when we're in this constant quest for justice, we're always trying to prove that we deserve to be treated like human beings to people who will never see us as human beings. there's something wrong with that picture. You know, there's something horribly wrong with that picture. Alright? Always trying to prove our worth, proving our humanity to oppressors who simply choose to deny our humanity. And then this is already almost 25 minutes, so this is going to be the last point of this video discussion. Part 2, Chapter 5, page 101. Okay, right at the bottom here. When you hear someone insulting the Jews, pay attention. He is talking about you. And I believe at the time he was universally right, meaning that I was responsible in my body and soul for the fate reserved for my brother. Since then, I have understood that what he meant quite simply was that the anti-Semite is inevitably a negrophobe, aka racist. So if you see a person hating on another group of people, what makes you think they're not going to hate on you? See, people's true colors are obvious. This is why I always say, I have yet to meet a racist who also wasn't sexist, who also wasn't misogynistic, who also wasn't homophobic, who also wasn't transphobic. Bigots tend to be one and the same, alright? Just like there's black people who will sit up and complain about racism, but then turn around and be homophobic and transphobic, sexist and misogynistic. Again, these closed-minded ideologies and beliefs, you know, they run in pairs. They work together. Again, you have white supremacy, and then you have tools of oppression that white supremacy uses to maintain and uphold white supremacy, to maintain and uphold division and divide and conquer human beings. Alright? So, very deep, nearly 70 years ago, Frantz Fanon was able to realize and recognize the struggles of one marginalized group becomes the struggles of all marginalized people. If one of us is being discriminated and hurt and abused and killed and murdered and slaughtered, it ultimately is going to impact all of us. Alright? Oppression is oppression and ultimately does impact all of us. One cannot turn a blind eye to the oppression and struggles of others and think it won't impact them later down the road. Okay? Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Again, paraphrasing a famous Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. quote, again, that will be in the description box below as well. So, that was part 2. Again, follow the playlists on my YouTube channel to follow along. You can join the book club at any time. Information, links, articles, and references can be found in the description box below. Feel free to share your information, your knowledge as well. Sharing is caring and knowledge is power. If you would like to donate to the channel, I accept all donations via Cash App and Venmo. Information is in the description box below. All donations are greatly appreciated and go to the upkeep of the channel. Make sure y'all wear y'all masks, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. If you can and want to, please get vaccinated. Sending y'all love and positivity. And we'll be back with part 3 of Black Skin, White Mask, Chapter 5. I'm out.